it's Enigma, and today we're talking about DLCs in fighting games. Okay, the inspiration for this, I was not gonna make a video on this subject, but this post literally, it popped up on my Twitter and it popped up again on my Instagram, and immediately I had to save it to talk about this. Now, I'm not so sure if TVFGC is the original source of this image, but this is pretty funny. So long story short, this is discussing all of the DLC characters that have been announced for some of the bigger games. So Street Fighter 6 got some SNK characters in Terry and Mai. Guilty Gear Strive ended up getting Lucy from the Cyberpunk Edgerunner series. MK1 ended up getting Conan, Ghostface, and the T-1000. And what makes it so much funnier is the fact that in Fatal Fury, we're getting Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano is a soccer player. He is not a fighter. Well, I don't know what they're gonna do with him. And this isn't the only time that a lot of weird DLCs have popped up. There have been multiple instances in which this has happened. Some of them make sense, while others not so much. One of the best examples that I can come up with is back when Tekken 7 was still being supported, we ended up getting the character of Negan from The Walking Dead. When Negan first popped up in The Walking Dead, I was a fan up until a few seasons later, but that's another discussion. But what didn't make any sense was the game that he ended up getting released in. Again, it's Tekken 7, and Negan being a playable fighter within Tekken 7, that really doesn't feel like, it just doesn't feel right. A lot of fans at the time were heavily criticizing this because they said that Negan would have been a much better fit in the Mortal Kombat roster. And to this day, I still agree that Negan should have been in Mortal Kombat and not in Tekken. However, due to licensing, the fact that Bandai Namco ended up buying the license to use Negan, it's a business at the end of the day. And the licenses are really expensive, especially when it comes to like high-end IPs like Star Wars. For those who don't know, back in the Soul Calibur series, there was a few DLCs that ended up getting released, and those DLCs were Darth Vader and Yoda. Now, even though it is weird to see those characters, the reason why it makes a bit more sense is because within the Soul Calibur series, you have another way to win called a ring out. And using the force abilities that they were given, well, it was pretty satisfying to get that ring out. And even within that weirdness, there's actually something that definitely takes the cake. For those who have been around long enough, you would probably remember or maybe choose to forget, the Street Fighter Cross Tekken crossover game that was released. That game, it was I'm just gonna get to the point because the less we talk about this, the better. Even though personally I enjoyed the game, the one thing that I didn't enjoy were the Pac-Man and Mega Man DLCs. Those are still considered the worst DLCs, and for a good reason. Going back to the subject of licenses, because Capcom does own the Mega Man and the Pac-Man series, it makes sense why they would want to put them inside of a Street Fighter game. But the way that it was executed was terrible. Not only did they put Pac-Man inside of a mech suit, but they ended up making Mega Man look so bad. He's like Mega Man if he gave up on life and just started eating nothing but donuts all day. It really didn't help that, in my opinion, the gameplay for both of those characters wasn't great either. Now, have there ever been any like good creative DLCs that people have actually enjoyed? Believe it or not, there actually has. The people who I've talked to have always mentioned that the DLC roster for MKX is still considered to be the best. They've only had like one bad character with Himbo Raicho, but you can let that slide because MKX was the epitome of, if you were a big fan of the horror slasher genre, you could pick almost anybody. And stepping away from the slasher genre, they actually introduced the Yautja and the Xenomorphs, or as most people would know them, the Aliens and the Predators. Now, I love those movies. I really do. Even the Alien vs. Predator movie, I know it gets a bad rap, but it's one of my guilty pleasures. It's a lot of fun. Another one that actually works out pretty well, surprisingly, going back to Tekken 7, is the DLC character of Noctis. Now, I loved playing Final Fantasy 15. It's one of my favorite Final Fantasy titles. And seeing Noctis inside of Tekken 7 was really cool. And in fact, his moveset actually works pretty well within Tekken 7. I think for a while, he was a meta character. It's unfortunate that this year, a lot of the DLC characters that we're gonna be receiving for some of these games they're not exactly gonna be up there. Well, going back to this photo, the only one that I would consider like really good is within the Street Fighter 6 category. Capcom and SNK have had a pretty close history, and they've worked together in numerous titles. So seeing Mai and Terry within Street Fighter 6, it makes a lot of sense. These two are great characters within their respective franchises, and I can see why a lot of people are excited to see them make it into Street Fighter 6. Lucy is a breath of fresh air because, for those who don't know, this is the first time that we are getting a guest character inside of the Guilty Gear franchise. The Guilty Gear series has never, up until Guilty Gear Strive this year, ever had a guest character, and it makes sense why they went with Lucy. The Cyberpunk Edgerunner series is fantastic. If you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend you watch it. And seeing Lucy inside of this roster, it makes me wonder just how are they gonna pull this off, because she has so much versatility inside of that series. I almost stumbled on my words. That it's gonna be pretty difficult to try to narrow down her moveset because she can do a lot. Cristiano Ronaldo, I only see him as just a soccer player. I think the only thing that he'll be doing is just freaking kicking soccer balls. Alright, but enough jokes aside, we're just gonna have to wait and see for Fatal Fury. Now this, on the other hand, with Mortal Kombat 1, I'm gonna be honest, I am not the biggest fan of the current DLC roster for this season. I mean, Conan is, I feel kinda mixed. I feel like they could have used this spot for a different character. But again, it's all about licenses, it's all about getting the rights to use them within these franchises. Ghostface, on the other hand, this is something that is, I feel like, way too late. With Ghostface, I feel like it would have made more sense if they would have gotten the rights to use him in MKX. Even though I do like most of the DLCs over there, I feel like if they would have just like skipped out on some of the guest characters just to bring in Ghostface, to bring in a roster of slasher villains, that would have been a lot better. Especially because in that time, they were heavily using slasher villains, so it would have made more sense to do it then than now. The T-1000, I think this is the only like good character within Mortal Kombat 1 that's gonna be released. That's because in the previous title, MK11, they ended up leaning more towards the more Hollywood-eccentric villains as well as Hollywood-eccentric heroes. We ended up getting Rambo, we ended up getting the Terminator, and it makes sense why they would want to go with the T-1000, because this is a Terminator that a lot of people love. But this also begs the question, just which characters would you like to see both returning to the franchise as well as making guest appearances? Now, I'm not a developer, I don't work for any of these companies, so I can't say anything about like any future characters that are going to be coming in. But I'm also a firm believer that the opinions of the public do matter. If there's a chance that you mess up on some of the characters that you end up bringing in, both to come back or as to start as guests, first take the L and learn from it. But if you see anything that works out very well, take the feedback and expand on it. Well, that's the end of the video. I really hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and also subscribe to my channel and turn on those post notifications so you never miss out a video or a live stream. And if you would like to help support the channel, check out buymeacoffee.com/Enygma. Links for everything will be down in the description box below. And also, let me know in the comment section down below which guest characters you would like to see in which franchise. But anyways, keep fighting, and this is San Diego Shooting Star, signing out.